Yes, what's going on, people? Good evening. For those of you that are usual live listeners, I'm sorry we are a bit delayed. Lining up a special guest for this evening, which you will be seeing from the title clearly. But yeah, just wanted to hold off the show a little bit and get everything prepared for our guest who will join us shortly. Hopefully everybody's been well. Obviously we know this is a pandemic, but we're all staying safe. A lot of boxing news, not a lot of boxing action on the last weekend, but a lot of boxing news to kind of go through. So I thought before the guest joins us, I'll probably just touch on a few of those subjects. But last weekend we saw Clarissa Shields really do something that a few fighters have done, and that's become undisputed in another weight class. I think Clarissa Shields, in terms of boxing and what she's doing for the female game, I have to say, I think she's putting female boxing on the map. I feel, however, that she's probably not going to get her just desserts in terms of getting recognition for what she brings to the sport of boxing, what she's accomplished, who she's fought. I think we've got to look at it on paper and forget about what people view about her attitude. You've got to look at it on paper and say, you know what, she stepped up out from coming out of the Olympics as an amateur. She stepped into the pro game. She announced herself, and she's fought tough opposition after tough opposition. So yeah, I think big credit for her. It was a pay-per-view show, and I think she boxed brilliantly. Obviously, after the fight, a lot of talk was about potentially moving down to a catch weight of 147 pounds to face Taylor. People, I don't know what you think, but I can't see that happening. I think you're talking about, one, she needs to lose the weight, but two, you're also talking about really Taylor having to put on the weight. And what's that going to do to Taylor? I think when she fought the last girl, the Moroccan, I want to say the French girl, Delphine, that was a tough fight for Taylor. And I believe there was a potential weight elements in that because Delphine always seemed the stronger fighter in both of those fights. But I think, if we can get that done, I think that would be huge for female boxing. But I'm not confident. I have to say I'm not confident at all. I think some news that's kind of surprised everybody really of the last day or two is Manny Pacquiao's come out and said that he is leaning to Mikey Garcia, but Crawford is not ruled out. And I think that's a good matchup, to be fair. Garcia versus Pacquiao or Pacquiao versus Garcia. I think that's a fight I would have liked to have seen. To be fair, anything from 3-4 years ago. Yes, Pacquiao, everyone will say he's old, but listen, he beat Keith Thurman, whether he was coming off an injury or not. He beat Keith Thurman, and I think that goes to show what level he's operating at. Yes, it was 2 years ago nearly, but still, Garcia is not a natural 147 pounder, so it would make for an interesting contest. Do we think that fight's going to happen? I don't see why not. I think, it's very strange that they gave up the WBA title, really. Obviously it was due to inactivity, but it's quite strange that he's done that. Maybe it was things outside of boxing that caused that decision, but you would have thought, that would be a huge opportunity, Garcia versus Pacquiao for a title fight. I think a lot of people wouldn't have been able to sniff at that, and I think a lot of people would have really been up for it. So I think from Garcia, if you're looking at him, obviously he hasn't fought since he fought Vargas, but obviously he's still coming off that lost to Errol Spence Jr. And I think if he gets an opportunity to fight a Pacquiao, potentially beat a Pacquiao, I think it'll do a lot for his resume. No matter what, Keith Thurman took a loss, and if Garcia can come back and sort of announce his name into the welterweights by beating Pacquiao, I think, that will give him a good shot. Against Spencer in a rematch, I don't think so. I know he's calling for it. I personally don't see it. But, the other guys, the other contenders, maybe the other champions, I would say yes. And, in that statement Pacquiao made, he also said that he's not ruling out Crawford. This one, for me, is a very, very strange one because I'm like, you guys were on the same side of the street, same promoter, and we couldn't get that fight going. So in my mind, I don't see how Pacquiao versus Crawford comes about. Crawford, when he was younger and Pacquiao was younger, clearly, they didn't make that fight. You were on the same side. Now you're on a different side. Yes, Pacquiao's slightly independent, but he's obviously what seems to be fighting a lot more of the PBC fighters. But for me, I don't see why Pacquiao would take that risk. Is it a big money fight? I think if we're being honest, not necessarily. I think Pacquiao has his hardcore fans. They will pay for him. But I think Crawford, is much of a fantastic fighter he is, one of the pound for pounds, I don't think he's bringing that financial clout to the ring. So I would say it's not a huge fight financially, and whilst it would be a big a fight for us boxing fans to see, you know, if Crawford wins, in a weird way, it doesn't even add to his resume because everybody wants to see him against, you know, the top one welterweights. And you're like, come on, Pacquiao is one. Yes, he is for sure, but he's also aged. And the Crawford that we think he is, in terms of his skill set, his ring IQ, his physical ability, you know, he should be too much for Pacquiao. Nonetheless, if that fight comes about, it would be a huge sort of baptism of fire for Crawford. I think he does beat Pacquiao personally, but I think, you know, fans would recognize those that doubt Crawford's ability. I think they'll probably give him the credit that he would be due should he get that fight over way. So yeah, I think the Pacquiao has got options. Really strange we didn't see Porter in the mix for that. Although I'm not necessarily surprised, but yeah, it would have been interesting to see Porter being in the mix. And if Crawford doesn't get that Pacquiao fight, will he go on and fight? Porter? Probably not. But yeah, let's see. Obviously, big fight this weekend. One for the purists: Estrada versus Chocolatito. I think tons of us are looking forward to that. You know, make sure that you check out the smaller guys. I mean, that was a true back and forth, and I expect to see more of the same this weekend. It's quite a decent card. We've got Ammo Williams taking on Dennis Douglin, and Dennis Douglin is, to be fair, he's a rough competitor. So Ammo Williams, who signed to Matchroom, is kind of making his way through the division. He's coming up against a solid test. It's a last-minute replacement. So, you know, his previous opponent fell out, and now we're seeing him, you know, really kind of get tested. So yeah, appreciate that. So we got Afolawa Keku. Greetings from Nigeria to the champ. Yes, appreciate that. We're just waiting for the man himself, so I'll make sure we replay that message closer to the time. But please, be those that are listening in, be sure to, number one, subscribe and hit that notification bell on the Raps on TV YouTube channel. We really need that support. As I said, we need to get to 1,000 subscribers by the summer. And as the caption says, subscribe. It's free. And then for those of you that want to call in, potentially ask a question directly to Joshua Buatsi, or put a comment across in terms of general boxing views, you'll see the number at the bottom of the screen, but it is 01506 353 955. So yeah, if you guys are interested in hearing from Joshua Buatsi, not just what he's the decision that's come out today. I think a lot of people were expecting that news. Just finding out what he's been doing with his career, his camps, training for the last few months. We're definitely looking forward to getting him on and speak to him in detail along that. Still a bit of fallout, actually, guys. Moving on now to the big fight, which I think a lot of us are looking forward to see. Let's be real. Is the Canelo versus Saunders, and Saunders has come out and said he thinks the Canelo Yildirim fight was embarrassing. I mean, most people have said that, right? I think even Moshe Suleiman has come out and apologized and said they're going to look and review the way that they sort of make these mandatory positions come about. You know, anybody that understands boxing didn't have to do the maths on this one. You know, Yildirim had been inactive but became mandatory. You know, we need a bit more transparency on how that happens. And on top of that, obviously the guest from last week, David Benavidez, he was the previous WBC belt holder. And it didn't seem like there was a lot of noise for him to get that Canelo clash. So yeah, look, this is boxing. We understand what Canelo's doing. Canelo's going for the belts. He wants to cement his legacy. I think he's going to have a very, very good chance of being able to, you know, cement the legacy that he's building. Not just, you know, he's been fighting for years now. He's fought Mayweather. Clearly, obviously, we know he lost. But the caliber of opponents he's facing now, I think that's going to help. What I would like to see Canelo do, though, and hopefully we see that, I would like to see him fight champions, but also just tough opponents, you know. So he's got a 100 belt at 175. You know, would he compete against some of the other guys in that division? You know, that's Buatsi's division. So we're not talking about Buatsi specifically, but, you know, guys like Bivol, guys like Bertabiv. I don't know if Gvozdyk is back in the ring. I know he retired, but it seems like he could be back on the boxing scene. So yeah, I think that would be really interesting to kind of see him and this is Canelo I'm referring to, kind of challenge themselves against those guys. I do think the Plant fight is good, is a good fight for him. I do think Benavidez is a tough fight for him as well. And obviously Billy Joe Saunders is going to bring something different. I think that goes without saying. But a lot of these guys, I do feel that Canelo's probably the favourites going into those fights. And I think as boxing fans, it is hard, but if a man is willing to go up in the divisions, I think it's good to see them maybe fight against guys that they will not necessarily be the favourites against. So let's see what Canelo does. He's his own man. He's going to be on the Mike Tyson Hot Boxing podcast, so looking forward to that. Hopefully we get to hear him speak fluent English as well. And not that it's a criticism, more because I think Canelo as a superstar that he is, I think we want to hear more from him. We want to hear him express his thoughts on the division. I think last week Eddie Hearn came out and said, he said, "Oh, Billy Joe Saunders is easy." We don't believe that fight will be easy, but I think it's good to hear your fighters saying that, showing their mindset, showing that ruthlessness. If he believes Billy Joe Saunders is an easy fight for him, then I think, more power to us, because we're going to get a great fight. I'd love to know, the fans, if you guys are watching, I'd love to know your thoughts on this Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo fight. Is it a British thing that we seem to be getting hyped and we're just backing the fighter? Because a lot of people seem to think that Billy Joe Saunders can cause Canelo a lot of trouble. And I just think, is that a naive way of thinking? Because Canelo's faced a lot of different fighters and nobody's really troubled him. Okay, yeah, he got buzzed in the early days, but let's be honest, since Mayweather onwards, or even Mosley onwards, nobody's really troubled him. Mayweather schooled him, that's a different thing, but nobody's really hurt him. Is Billy Joe Saunders going to be the man to either hurt him or school him? That remains to be seen. So yeah, no, definitely looking forward to that fight. And as I said, I want to hear your comments moving on your thoughts on that fight. This weekend we do have Benavidez. So he was on the show last week. He spoke about him facing Ronald Ellis. I think whilst it's a potential banana skin, I think Benavidez should do the business. I think the key thing is, though, that he's just got to come out of that fight unscathed, because he really needs to be able to architect a way back to the championship belts. There's talk of the Caleb Plant rivalry, but is Caleb Plant, really going to risk a Canelo fight and fight Benavidez? That's the question we're all asking, and I think we all know that would be a no. Eddie Hearn has said he's spoken to Luis de Cubas, and they're looking at putting some type of offer together to see which networks would take the fight, if it's between Canelo and Plant. So it's quite funny that he's doing that, because it's in one eye he's saying he doesn't believe Billy Joe's got a chance, so he's looking at the next business move. And especially, Canelo said he wants to be active this year. But yeah, look, for me, Canelo, he's got options. So yeah, let's see what happens. But back to Benavidez, he's really got to put on a performance this weekend. I think he can do it. I'm just texting. Yes, I think he can do it. But I just think, he can't take his eye off the ball. He's got to really be focused. This is a potential banana skin. And I think, when we think about guys that have gone into fights and haven't given it their all, this could be one of those fights, especially during this pandemic season. We have seen some upsets. Obviously, Benavidez lost his belt because he wasn't able to make weight. So he lost it on the scales, not in the ring. So yeah, he's got to show that he's focused. He definitely sounded focused. And I don't know what you guys thought, but I really enjoyed speaking to him, because he sounded like, in terms of, fatherhood's changed him, and that happens to us as humans anyway. I think fatherhood has definitely changed his approach to boxing. So yeah, that was good. One for the history books, though, those of you that are purists of the game. So looking forward to speaking to Uncle about this. We are looking at 50 years ago, Ali Frazier, the first fight. Those of you that will remember, will remember, which is none of you. That was a fight that really we always hear about. I think it was a huge fight. Could you imagine being around in that arena where that fight took place? And yeah, just experiencing that, the two undefeated heavyweight champions going at it. Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali. For me, I think that would have been one of the most exciting things to have seen. And a lot of people celebrating that, and rightly so. And we're just hoping, in 2021, we essentially get our version of that, which would be Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. And yeah, we really hope that that can come to fruition this year. So yeah, guys, just stay patient as I reach out to the champ and try and get an update. Looking forward to catching up with him. I think, we've all got, I'm sure a lot of questions are going to be why you've gone to work with Virgil Hunter. I think we all know Virgil Hunter is an esteemed coach. He's a real, not just a trainer, a student of the game. Clearly, everyone knows that he worked with Andre Ward, but I think it's fair to say he brought some improvements to Amir Khan. So I'll be interested to know, is that what Buatsi is expecting to see? And I mean, Khan took on tough opponents under Virgil Hunter. Let's have it right. Obviously, he's worked with Andre Berto. So, Virgil Hunter has come up against a plethora of boxers, a wide range of opponents, and he's really shown his stuff. So, yeah, really looking forward to kind of catching up with him shortly. But you know what these guys, you know what things are like. Things can't always move at the time that you need. So, yeah, definitely bear with us. Yes, Danielo Blanco. Yes, shout out to Raps on TV. Yes, what's going on, my guy? Appreciate the support as always. Yeah, appreciate the support as always. It's much appreciated. Guys, tell me what's your thoughts? Anybody want to put anything in the comments? Tell me your thoughts on the boxing scene at the moment. Who's looking forward to Dillian White versus Povetkin to the rematch taking place in Gibraltar? I think that's going to be quite a good card. To be fair, we've got the man Chris Congo on there, so that's huge. So yeah, looking forward to kind of seeing what happens next from that perspective. And we're just about to go live, so I can see. I'll see the champ. We're about to add him to the screen. What's going on, big man?
You saying, big man, you're right.
I'm good. I'm good,
late, man. Sorry, I'm late. I was just sorting
that
myself out, bro.
the jet lag's getting to you, yeah?
Say that again.
I said the jet lag.
No, it's been all right. I've been here for I've started my second week, so I've been here for a week and 2 days. So now it's good to be back, man. How about you, man? You're back in England after your journeys to Ghana and that, man.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was really blessed, bro. And yeah, miss doing the boxing, but you know what it's like in Ghana. We just had to focus and prioritize on a few other things. And yeah,
Sure,
back with the Village Jumpers. You know,
Yeah, for sure. The weather's not bad here, to be fair. It's not
yeah.
bad. It's like 15, 16, 17, 18. So it's not
Mhm.
too bad. A couple of 20s, but it's not bad, bro. I can't complain.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you everybody is kind of we're what nearly 8:30 in the UK. It's been all over Sky Sports, all over Twitter. So I've got to start at that headline places. So
Yeah.
firstly, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate your time as always, champ. And yeah, we got the news that you've now essentially started training over in the US, working with Virgil Hunter. I mean, he's an esteemed trainer. I mentioned it before: Andre Ward, Khan, Andre Berto, obviously Sissoko. Really, I've got to ask, like, how did that move come about?
So I think you know what? So from watching boxing and doing boxing, bro, I'm smiling because it's a mad story from my point of view anyway. So I've always said, like when I started amateur boxing, and I said, oh, one day, imagine I'd love to train with this guy, good trainer. I've watched his fighter Andre Ward. I've watched other fighters that he's worked with, like you said, Berto. What's the other guy? Angulo, Amir Khan. You see what I'm saying? So there's all these fighters that he's worked with that I was like, oh, that's mad. Like he's teaching a science that I like or a style of boxing that I like. So I said this years ago before I got into Olympic boxing. Years ago before I was probably 10 fights in as an amateur. You see what I'm saying? So I said this a long time ago, and then when I went to the US in 2019 to box on the AJ Ruiz card, the first fight. And I met Virg there, and I was like, Virg, nice to meet you. I said, one day I'm going to come train with you. He's like, Buatsi, listen, the doors are open. Whenever you want, you're welcome. Literally, whenever you're ready on your time. Bearing in mind, now I've been to the Olympic Games. At that point, I think I was 10-0. Yeah, I was 10-0. And I was thinking, damn, like he said I could come whenever I want. I said, okay, cool. I came back to London, and then later on in that year, 2019, Spencer
Mhm.
Spearing rang me randomly out of the blue, and I was chatting to
Mhm.
him, and he's like, "Oh, Buatsi, I've got someone on the phone. I'm gonna put them on the call." And he put Virgil into the phone call, and I was thinking, "Oh, that's mad," because I spoke to him
Yeah.
middle of that year when I was in the States,
Mhm.
but nothing kind of
Yeah.
went further than that. I just said, "Yo, Virgil, I'm gonna train with you," and we spoke on the phone. I was like, "Virg, this is my situation, X, Y, and Z. I think you're a great trainer, great guy, X, Y, and Z." And it was kind of left at that as well. So
Mhm.
cool. I had a few more fights, and then my team, like you mentioned, he trained Suleiman Sissoko, and
Yes.
Suleiman Sissoko is part of the same management team as we are. So
Mhm.
my commercial management were just like, "Yo, Sully, tell Virgil Buatsi is gonna come over." My manager actually talks with him all the time because obviously he sorts
Mhm.
out the fights for Sully and stuff like that. He was like, "Yo, Buatsi literally can come whenever he wants." And after
Mhm.
my fight,
Mhm.
remember after my last fight, my face was kind of swollen, and
Yeah.
it's not to say that I got battered in the fight, but
Mhm.
fair enough. Fair enough. One punch caused this, but I
Mhm.
didn't look good after the fight, basically. And it's like, yo, I need to get out somewhere where I'm gonna learn more and keep learning
Mhm.
more and more and more. And I was like, no greater time than now. Obviously, the
Yeah.
pandemic happened. No one knows when they're next fighting. Um,
Mhm.
I didn't want to box in December on the AJ Pulev card because I wanted to rest my face. The
Mhm.
doctor said everything was cool, but you see me, I was like, cool, I'm not taking any chances. So I
No
thought, you
chances.
know what, I'll probably have a few months off
Mhm.
without fighting. So I thought, boom, came out to the States, but I was here for 2 months as well.
Yeah.
And when I came, I was like, wow, this is different. Very, very different, bro.
Mhm.
The teachings and everything that I had been taught in boxing lined
Yeah.
up with it. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying I didn't learn anything, it all lined up. But
Yeah.
this for me, I saw a different tier of teachings that I was like, you know what, I ain't been exposed to this before.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not come back out here and just keep learning and adding more to what I've got? And that's the
Absolutely.
same thing that's the same thing Verge says, bro. He says, what you've got is great. All we're doing is just
Mhm.
adding a bit more to it. We're not changing
Yeah.
your style. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. And this is what I said on Sky Sports, that I'm not here to come out tomorrow to box like Andre Ward. No,
Yeah.
it's just certain things that um he does, or there's a certain style that he's taught that I'm like, yo, this style, I agree with it and we can work
Mhm.
with it. So you see what I'm saying, bro? I said, what's holding me back? I've got no responsibilities in London, so
Yeah.
I'm out here, man.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And I mean, just on that though, I wanted to ask, and we might go a bit back and forth. In terms of the I say improvements, but the differences that you see, can you maybe explain to us and tell us what they were? Like, how did you feel? Is it something that was noticeable in your training or your sparring? What was it that you
It's,
felt?
I think, just to my knowledge, certain things were quite textbook
Hmm.
um, with what I was learning and stuff like that. Um, and over here, it's like you may do something, bro, and
Hmm.
it's gonna be deemed as wrong in the knowledge of boxing, or in the textbook of boxing. They're gonna be like, no, that's wrong. You can't cross this foot over this and that and that.
Yeah.
But over
Hmm.
here, it's like, this works, then we
Hmm.
keep doing it. Like, it works.
Yeah.
So why are we not gonna do it if it works? There's a lot
Yeah.
of unorthodox things out here that I'm learning that I'm like, yo, if I can add a little bit of that into what I do,
Hmm.
I'm gonna go up levels. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just little things like that and it's not to say that I'm learning the sport all over again. Nah, because boxing in some form it is very simple. And then
Yeah.
there's the little tricks, as you know, when you're inside, when you're outside, hands on
Yeah.
opponent, hands off, just little tricks like that I want to be more exposed to. So yeah, it's just adding more to things that I know that I feel I've got room for improvement, man. So why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like I said, with Virgil Hunter, seasoned trainer, has he kind of given you a list, or has he said to you, these are the areas I want to work on to start, and then over the next few months, or that is
Um,
it like a phased approach in terms of how he assesses where he wants to train you?
so, so I think he had a look at me a few sessions, and even till now he's still having a look. And as the sessions go on, he's like, "Cool, we see exactly what it is we've got to work on, and on
Yeah.
this camp, we're just gonna work on this. We're not gonna try and cover all of these things. No, this camp we're gonna learn how to do this very well. And then as camp goes on or whatever, we'll touch on other things. But predominantly, the aim is to, you know, master how we're gonna do this particular thing. And that's just what it is, man. It's not what's it called? It's not overpopulating my mind and my head with different things. It's just cool. There's a few things to touch on, but for this camp, we're gonna concentrate on this, and we're just gonna move forward with it. And bro, these are just the basics that we just keep improving. Because I always say, bro, I don't think I do anything wow in a fight. I just try to do the basics very well, and once you get that quite good, you can obviously add on to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I just want to go back. You mentioned the college fight. You mentioned the cut. I know as a fighter, you know, most and your style, you're quite slick. You know, hitting, not get hit. It was a cut, but you came through the fight tremendously. But did you have not doubts? But after that fight, was that when you felt that you needed to make some type of change? You know, was
I
there?
think. Do you know what? I don't think there's always. You see me as a fighter, bro. I think when I get in, it's on me. If you win or you lose, it's like you are the performer. So I don't try to look for external reasons to put blame on or anything. It's on me. You see what I'm saying? But I think it was like I said earlier on, given the circumstances with COVID and people not knowing when they're gonna fight next, I thought this was a good time. Remember, there's been a long spell of inactivity for myself, but also for everyone. Not even just as fighters, just people in life in general. So I thought no one knows how long this is going to go on for. Rather than staying in England, where we're kind of restricted and stuff, this is a good time in my career where nothing is really happening for anyone, for me to make sure that although nothing is happening in terms of fighting, that something is happening for me in terms of improving and learning. So I was like, no better time than this. After the college fight, I was in England for I think a week and a half, and that was it. I was gone straight away.
No, absolutely. And just a comment from one of the audience. I'm just putting in a few up. Great move to head out to the Straits and train with Virgil Hunter. He'll also have the wisdom of water cooling as well. Great move. So I think, you know, it has been viewed as a positive because we don't see a lot of, you know, young British fighters doing that anyway to learn their craft. I have to ask though, you mentioned 258 were all for it. How about the team in Sheffield? How did they take it when you broke the news that you were gonna go and work in the States?
I think within my whole team, within my team as a whole, I kind of said, guys, this is what I feel I need to do to improve.
Yeah.
Because as much as boxing is it's an individual sport, yes, there's a team around you that helps you to prepare to get ready. But once that bell goes, as you know, everyone gets out of the ring. It's your opponent and the referee. So it gets to a point where I have to make decisions based on what I think is going to benefit me. And I said it, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. Secondly, I think I said to everyone, I don't expect anyone to come out here with me because people got things going on in their lives. Understandably, bro. People got kids, commitment, marriages, X, Y, and Z businesses. I was like, guys, I'm 27/28. I've got no responsibilities in London. Nothing's holding me back in England. Like, actually nothing. So I'm like, I'm going to go out there for months and just work on my craft and do what I can do to improve my career. So when I'm 35, 36, I can say, you know what? I tried everything I could to be successful and it worked, or it didn't work. But at least I can say, you know what? I tried everything I could within my reach to make it work. And that's kind of where my head's at. So that's why I said to my team, that was the explanation. And I think my mind had been made up. So end of the day, I was going to be out here regardless.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, comments are, so it's positive. So someone said, you went to improve the defense. Also, the sparring is going to be on next level. That's a comment from Jeff. And I mean, and that's a great point, though. I mean, has that been a conversation you've had with Virgil Hunter, or is that something in your thoughts of the types of guys you want to get for sparring? You know, the experience and the improvements you can get from sparring, from being out in the US?
Yeah, I think in terms of improvements, like Jeff said, I feel I have to improve my defense, and that's something that I think when I got in touch with him, I was like, I know you teach stuff like this. and within the training and what we're doing, it's being drilled in over and over again. In terms of sparring, I haven't started sparring yet. I will start sparring, I think, either end of this week or beginning of next week. And all we're looking for in the spars now is for me to try and put to practice things that I've been taught already.
Yeah.
I don't have wars in sparring. Maybe I've got into some before, true, but especially out here, I'm definitely not out here to have wars.
Yeah.
I'm here to actually try and apply what I'm being taught, and learn and learn and learn and learn and try to do it in sparring, and that's when it translates into the fight. Of course, if someone comes and they're being hostile and they're trying to take my head off, you have to do what you have to do. But initially, I'm here to learn, and to just put to practice what I'm being taught.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, again, being out in the States, do you think that gives you a stronger chance of fighting more regularly in the States? I mean, as you mentioned, you fought on the New York card on the Joshua Ruiz. You fought overseas as an amateur anyway, but now being based out there a bit more frequently, you think we'll probably see you on those DAZN cards over in the States?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because I think it means I'll be out here, then I can do a camp and then go to whatever state that it is in. But primarily right now, it's just to learn, to improve myself, and to get ready for May the 15th. That's the date that I've got back in London. So I haven't thought about whether I'll be fighting out here more or in England more. That right now doesn't matter. It's about, like, bro, learning what I can learn, and then to go back home and to obviously show what I've learned. And it's mad because I think when I was with you in Ghana, I had already been to the States. I'd already been here with Virgil, but you have to let things sink in. You have to think and see how it's going. So, you know me, like I won't say nothing about anything until I'm 100% sure about it. I think I told you I was in the States training, but I didn't tell you who I was working with.
Exactly.
I can't really remember, but now the cat's out of the bag. So this is what I came here to do, man.
Exactly. And I mean, like you said, I mean, you mentioned it and I didn't even think twice. I know you're a traveler anyway, so I just thought, you like to see the world. You thought whilst you're seeing, why would you go and get a bit of traveling? And I think it's a great move, especially to sort of see out 2020. 2020 was tough for everybody, right? But to end 2020 and potentially be building a new sort of partnership, I think that's a positive thing for you. I mean, I've got to say as well, you've said May 15th. So that's the date that we're looking to see your return. Do you know the type of opponent you'll be fighting against? You'll be fighting?
Not sure at the moment. What I do know is Virg said, Buatsi, this is the first camp together. Don't go for something drastic. It's the first camp. Give it time for us to bond, to understand each other, to settle and to work together. I said, cool, man. I think that's important because the reality is, realistic. How to for me being realistic, bro. Having your own style and then obviously being taught not a new style, but being under the eye of someone else, it gets a bit. Sometimes you get stuck in the mud because you're like, oh, am I doing what I'm being taught, or am I doing what I'm used to doing? So it's having that back and forth. But by all means, May 15th, I'm going in there to fight and to win and to do what I do, man.
No, absolutely. Looking forward to that. And I mean, I've got to ask you, you spoke about Ghana, and just to let the audience know, obviously you were training in US, then you came out to Ghana. But, how did you find the Ghanaian experience, number one? And you met up with the guys like Isaac Dogbe, Denzel Bentley. You guys were working together. How did you find that?
It was a good link up, man, and take time to put limelight on yourself, bro. My Ghana experience was good, but it was better once I linked up with you, for sure. So, because the thing is, I planned like you. I think you got to Ghana before me, and I wasn't planning to go, and I went less than 24 hours after making up my mind. So I got there, and you were like, "Bro, let's link up." So I was like, "Yeah, let's link up." And then you was like, "This is where I'm staying," and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna get the Uber to you." And I said, "Bro, it says you're 3 minutes from where I live." So we figured out that you live behind my mum's house. So I was like, "Yo, you live near to me." So now it was a good experience, just meeting up with him, talking. Things outside boxing. We didn't even speak about boxing, bro. That's the thing. We didn't even speak about boxing. And my cousin Isaac was out there. Denzel Bentley was out there. There was another young dog that we were working out with. He's good as well. So it was a good, nice little link up. I was meant to go for a week, which turned to 2, then 3, then 4. So
Yeah.
it shows you, man. Like, I was happy to be back in Ghana and just like linking up with people, man. It was a good
That's that.
experience.
Absolutely. I'm just going to put up a couple of comments here. Just one IA's asked, big fan, said he's a big fan of yours. Will you go to other gyms to get quality sparring?
In terms of sparring and that, we'll get people in.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll be putting up some photos, and you will know these people that I'll be sparring, and you're thinking, wow, they're out there and they're all working together. So I'll be
Yeah.
putting up some pictures on that, man. Definitely.
No, perfect. And I think we answered that. We said we'll just be fighting in the States. I think you said you're not sure, but I'm sure you're open to quick comment. Someone's loving this interview. Good feedback as always. And we've got the man himself, Mr. Master Knowledge, Spencer Fearings. He's asking for 20% for that hookup, bro.
The master knowledge, like I said, bro. Honestly, I met Virg in New York in June, and that said and done. But it was Spencer that rang me randomly and was like, "Buatsi, I've got someone on the phone for you." And in my head, I was thinking, what fighter is he gonna get me to talk to, or who has he got that probably likes boxing that's gonna be like, "Yo, Buatsi, you're a good guy." Da, da, da. He put on Virg, so I was like, "Whoa!" Like he's got Virg on the phone. So nah, big up Spencer for that, man. Virg's
Big
got
up
a lot of
Spencer.
respect and time for him, so I'm the
Exactly.
same towards him, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll say that. I say the same thing. I could big up Spencer Fearon. A lot of time, a lot of knowledge as well. But yeah, good guy and one of the guys that we need to see more of in the sport of boxing. Bro, I've got to talk to you about your Olympic teammate though, Lawrence Okoli. He's got a big challenge coming up this month, not far away from it. So obviously you're gonna more than likely miss that fight. I mean, but what's just your thoughts on seeing his growth? You know, you were both at Rio together. Seeing him fighting for a world title now, and any positive words of wisdom you might give to him.
It's amazing, and I've said this many times on different interviews, and I'll say it again that like Lawrence, out of everyone on the team, his confidence was superior to everyone. I think, to be fair, I think we're all confident and we all display it in a certain way. But in terms of who shows it the most, it's Lawrence by far. And he's proven that he backs himself 100%. And he's one on one, and look where he is now fighting for the world title. So for me, I'm confident he's going to get the job done. I won't be there, but I will 100% be watching it from the States, man. I'm minus 8 hours behind you guys, but I'll be out watching it, man. I'll 100% be out watching it.
Absolutely. And a comment coming in online is saying, "Are you looking for American exposure as well?"
I guess that comes with it. I'm not gonna say I'm primarily here for that. I'm primarily here to learn and to improve myself as a fighter. So I think I'll be fighting in England as well. And if fights come, they're like, "Yo, there's a big opportunity in America. Do you want to fight out there?" I'll be like, "Cool, we take it," and I'll get exposure here as well. But my primary goal from being here is to learn and to just gain more of an IQ of the sport that I'm in.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And I mean, a question I've got to ask you is, and that you've made this move to train. I mean, what words of wisdom did you get from Anthony Joshua himself? Obviously, he's an experienced pro, but you're fighting under him. What did he say himself? You know, him and the likes of Eddie Hearn. What words of wisdom did they give you?
You know, Josh and the team said you should have done this a while ago.
Okay.
They highly rate Virg, and they said, you know, a big move. Like, I said it's a big move, and you know, we're obviously hoping it goes well. He's like, bro, I said it's a big risk. He's like, but I said this ain't a big risk, man. He's saying, yo, this is life. We have to do what we have to do, and that's kind of my mindset. Like, it is life. I can say, yo, it worked or it didn't work, but at least I tried. One thing, like I said earlier on this, I don't want to sit down and be like, oh, it didn't work, and that's because I didn't even try it. But I can sit down in a few years' time and be like, it worked or it didn't work, but I did make the move. So yeah, I see what I'm saying. So the people around me, there's been mixed reviews on that, but ultimately it's always up to me, and it's always the individual. So yeah, and that brings me to that quote. I was gonna quote this. It says about the man in the arena. It's literally about the man in the arena, bro. Like it's for me to make sure when I'm in that arena, I'm fully equipped to do what I got to do. And if I think this is gonna add to me, then why not?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's a great decision. As I said earlier, we don't see a lot of, it's like the footballers things, right? We don't see a lot of young footballers or athletes leave their sort of home comforts and go abroad and understand a different method to the game. You know, all if you look at the sport of boxing, just like football, there's different methods taught in so many different countries. And you being in America, I think not only you're gonna have, you know, some of the Eastern European fighters there, you're gonna obviously have the Americans, but the South Americans, whether it's, you know, your Cuban, your Dominican Republic. So I think in terms of being there with a platform, I hope to see a lot of sort of positive steps. And I'm pretty certain you wouldn't have taken the steps if you truly didn't believe that you're going to make these steps. And then we can see it. You know, your title is champion. I think this time last year, bro, I don't think you would have put champion there. So I think you're feeling the energy from
yeah, everything I got around me is called champion. My Zoom meetings, everything I enter, my WhatsApps, it's all
that's
champion,
right.
man. It's a title and yeah, exactly. It's a title and mentality and a name that I go by, and that's what I am. I wholeheartedly believe it, bro. So
Yeah.
no better name. When it said, "Oh, you have to pick a name to put," I put champion straight away.
Yeah. We've got a comment there. If you stay with this mentality, you are going places. The reiteration of going to learn. Looking forward to the end product. I think, like I said, a lot of people are excited to see what's coming back. Us Ghanaians are proud of you. Save a seat in Vegas for your first fight. Absolutely.
That jam, yeah, for sure, bro.
And yeah, Virgil was a great choice to work on, both the defense, ring IQ. The guy was instrumental with Andre Ward. Talk to me about that a little bit. I mean, have you had any interaction with him since being over there, or, you know, moving with Virgil? Has he spoke to you about the game or working with Virgil at all?
Yeah, when I was here last time, I saw Ward, I think 2 or 3 times. He came down to the gym, just to chat and catch up and that. And since I've been out here, I spoke to him yesterday actually. Yeah, so you know, like you can't jump onto someone straight away. So I'm like, yo, bro, I'm here. I'm in your city, your town, whatever it is. Hit me up whenever you got the time, and I'm just chilling. You see what I'm saying? I'm here learning, but I'm sure he put down the gym as well because he's like, bro, what time are you training? What's your training schedule like? So I'll always let him know. And when he pops down, I'm 100% gonna pick his brain. I'm gonna ask him 1,000 questions. So
Absolutely.
yeah, man, it's all good.
Yeah. And I know you'll definitely be asking him those 1,001 questions. And just we've got our Nigerian brothers also just putting in the comments saying they're proud of you too, telling
Yes,
yourself
Sam.
up. So yes, you see that's Sam there. So bro, listen, I know that you've got a busy schedule as well. You know, you just moved over to the States, so really it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, man. Definitely.
No worries, brother. Anytime. I mean, just good luck with training over there, you know, acclimatizing to everything. And look forward to seeing you back in May. I'm sure that will be on Sky Sports. And like I said, just good luck with training. And all the best, brother. Thank you very much.
For sure. Thanks for having me, man. Have a good one, bro. Thank you.
No worries, man. Speak soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take it out. Cheers, man. So there we go, people. And I forgot to get a caller in. Sorry, callers. I know he was on a tight schedule, so I'll definitely be coming to the lines next. But yeah, there we have it. I think that was a well-rounded interview from Josh. I think he gave, you know, without being like vindictive, he gave great reasoning, great logic as to why he wants to make this step up. I think young fighters, yes, he's 27, but you know, fighters that are paving their careers now, I think they should be making this type of step up. And I think the type of coach trainer he's going to work with speaks volumes. So yeah, I look to see. I should have got that question out to him, Cecil. But yeah, I look to see what he does moving forward. And I think May 15th, we won't see the full repertoire of what he's learned. But I'm telling you, within a year, I think we'll get to see a totally different Joshua Buatsi. I think he was open and honest enough to say, you know, defensively, he probably wasn't where he wants to be, or he's a bit conscious of that. So you know what? Let's see the improvements moving forward. And you know, he's a true student of the sport, and I can testify to that from the time I spent out there with him. So in Ghana. So I'm just gonna go out to the callers. I know it was a bit of a weird one with the timing, so we don't have a lot of callers today. But I'm going out to 167. 167. The floor is yours.
Hey, hi.
Hey, Uncle. How you doing? Uncle? Sorry, I didn't get to for the calls.
Well, no problem. I think the timing threw me as well.
Yeah.
Good discussion with Josh Buatsi. Is he still there or is he left?
He's left now. Sorry.
I think the hookup with Virgil Hunter is great news because Josh is someone I mean, you know, I don't get carried away.
Yeah.
I call it like I should. But he is one see someone who could definitely potentially go all the way. And I feel with Virgil Hunter, that's going to be a reality, because whilst there's some killers in the light heavyweight division, I don't think the other British guys like Yard, Johnson are going to go all the way. So I definitely think Buatsi has the talent. He reminds me of Evander Holyfield, but I think with the right trainer, someone like Virgil Hunter, it's going to give him those incremental improvements. In his last fight against, I think it was a guy from Croatia, I liked what I saw, because that was a proper test. That guy could fight. Yeah. Gave him some problems. He overcame the problems and he closed the show.
Absolutely.
I think it's important to have those kinds of fights prepare you for world championships. Yeah. If it's just plain sailing all the way, not being given any tests, then it doesn't bode well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned there the other light heavyweights, and you would have thought this may have been something that that Anthony Yard a decision he may have taken. You feel like maybe he's been beaten to the punch there. Sorry for the pun, but you would have thought that might have been the decision he could have made. Work with somebody like a Virgil Hunter.
Tell you what I think about Anthony Yard. I want Anthony Yard to be the real deal.
Yeah.
Also, if you like, in terms of solidarity with our brother Tunde Ajayi. But I'm going to call it like I say.
Yeah.
Yes, Yard has some talent, but he's a flat track bully. It's not the talent that is going to dominate or anything of the sort at world class level.
Yeah.
Yes, domestically it can give people some problems, but you saw what happened with a guy with solid fundamentals, just stuck a jab on him.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get past that. Do you think that guy could have done that to Josh Buatsi?
No, I don't think so.
Exactly. That tells you that tells you all you need to
all you need to know.
Buatsi, from the first time I saw him, I said, boy, this is a well-schooled boxer. In fact, let's be very frank. I'm going to tell you something. He has better fundamentals, better natural fundamentals than Anthony Joshua.
I would agree. I mean, obviously, I don't compare them, but yeah.
The boys from Ghana.
Yes.
They're the best for me in Africa.
Yeah.
In terms of fundamentals, the boys from Ghana are the best school boxers. I know in Nigeria we've got some big, strong, powerful boys. But in Ghana, they're the best school guys. And this guy reminds me of Holyfield. Don't get me wrong. Joshua is a better AJ is a better athlete than Joshua Buatsi.
Yeah.
But Joshua Buatsi has got better fundamentals than Joshua. I'm just glad he's now with the world-class trainer that you need to give him the extra seasoning, because that could make the difference in fights against a guy like Berbice.
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely.
And you said something. Oh, sorry, you were saying?
No, I was going to say absolutely.
And then you were talking about Canelo earlier.
Yes.
Do you want my views about that?
Yes, please.
Because you asked about Billy Joe Saunders and him fighting at light heavyweight.
Yes.
I think in terms of the Billy Joe Saunders fight, I think Billy Joe Saunders is a good boxer. He's a good slick boxer.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has anything to trouble Canelo. I mean, this is a guy who went life and death with Chris Eubank.
Yeah.
When Chris Eubank basically gave the first half of the fight away.
Yeah.
And went then came back, but he left it I'm going to be very surprised. Not just do I expect Canelo to win, I expect him to stop him. You know, so in terms of people talking about Canelo having tough fights, he's had tough fights in his career.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I mean, Callum Smith was supposed to be a top fight. That's what everybody was saying. But Callum Smith was the best of 160.
Yeah.
Something which I never believed. And the truth of Canelo did the living daylights out of him.
Yeah.
It was a mismatch. And I think he's going to do a job on Billy Joe. The toughest fights for him at 168, I believe, are the fight after, which will be
Benavidez and Plant. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they have something extra. But I don't think, for me, Canelo should not be fighting at light heavyweight. So it's not really a light heavyweight. So when I saw the Kovalev fight, I was watching it. Yes, he stopped Kovalev.
Yeah, but
for me, it was actually one of his worst performances. And I realized it was because he really wasn't a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
I think the extra weight disadvantage to him. So
absolutely.
I think he's had a great career. He's a legitimate for it is 3 or 4 divisions.
It's 4 divisions, yes.
He's a legitimate 4-division champion, but I don't think he'd be fighting at the super middleweight.
Absolutely. No, I would agree, Uncle, and no, I appreciate that. So we're gonna have to move on and get to the comments and just close the show. But thanks again as always for the support, and we look forward to hearing your comments and calls next week.
Excellent.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks as usual. And yeah, just going to a few comments. So somebody said Yard will not get anywhere with Tunde El Emirati. I think, yeah, it does look like that relationship is on the cards. Buatsi will dominate light heavy in 2 years. That's from Darren O'Brien. He's saying Buatsi is on another level and he's always doing the best for him to better himself as a man, as a fighter. He has a first trainer mixing with Virgil will make him superb. I think, yeah, that's definitely sort of like the comments from the audience and what generally the boxing community will see, that, there'll be improvements. One of the things I should have asked Buatsi is the recent losses to some of the high-profile fighters. I mean, that cements it. But truth be told, I think he had made his decision sort of back end of last year. But listen, guys, we're going to shoot out because it was a late one, and it was a bit of a, not spontaneous, but I was able to get a bit of an exclusive from the man himself, Joshua Buatsi, and hear from him about his move to Virgil Hunter and the US. But make sure, guys, you check out the boxing this weekend, or at least the highlights if you're not going to stay up. Benavidez is fighting, Chocolatito and Estrada. It's going to be a great flyweight fight, and the card's not too bad as well. That is on DAZN. And guys, look forward to speaking to you next week. But until then, stay safe, stay cool. Raps on TV. Peace.